Hey, beautiful people, hope this finds you all well. So, got a beautiful experience to share with you. I often get asked, and I think it's a really profound, really brilliant question. I often get asked, how do you know when spirit are trying to make contact with you? How do you know when spirit are trying to make contact with you? And I think that's absolutely brilliant question. We can get our teeth into that. And the thing is, the first thing to kind of explore is the whole range of contact. Okay, there's a whole range of contact. There's the internal contact, which could be like a thought, a nudge, a feeling. Those thoughts, feelings and nudges are something that is absolutely hardwired into us all. We've got that sixth sense. It's that kind of feeling or knowing. It's that kind of situation where you just feel uncomfortable about something, or you meet someone for the first time and you either really like them or you don't like them at all, but you've only just met them and you can't really explain why you feel what you feel, but you feel what you feel very strongly. Or it's that situation where you wake up in the morning and you think of someone you haven't seen for a while, you go out and about and then you bump into them. Or you think of someone you haven't seen for a while and you haven't heard from, and then they reach out to you because they're going through a challenging time, and it seems very random. You wake up in the morning and they're in your thoughts, and then later, by the end of the day, they reach out to you and say, do you know what, I'd like a cup of tea, a chat, whenever you've got a moment. I'm going through some stuff, and that's that kind of internal, hardwired, knowing, feeling, sixth sense, psychic, natural ability, innate natural ability that we all have. And I often say, kind of what we do is innately natural. However, I also do say, because people say to me, you make it look easy, and I kind of smile and I think to myself, what, when I kind of really connect with that, it's a ridiculous notion to think that what I've done, what I do, I've just kind of developed or learnt in this lifetime. For me, it is way beyond that. It's kind of that thing when, you kind of hear those incredible stories of, children that at the age of 4 or 5 are just playing the piano as if they've played it forever. There's the point. They've played it forever. It's kind of etched into the soul. And I do believe the same with spirit contact, or the ability to kind of bridge those worlds, is that it's something that innately is very natural. It's kind of hardwired and it is etched into the soul. We all have the ability, but some of us, it is second nature. And I think, for me, I often say it is a ridiculous notion to think that, that I've just learnt this in this lifetime. I believe it's beyond learning. I don't think that it is something that you can teach, really, truly. I think that it's something that can be experienced, something that can be developed. And I think most importantly for me, it's not about learning, it's about remembering innately what's in there. So, it is a ridiculous notion that, it's been learnt just in this lifetime. I believe it's been etched into the soul and been lived through many lifetimes. I kind of see it as seership. And that's an old word for what we do, but I absolutely believe when I kind of look over my shoulder, I feel the ripples of that beyond this time. Not said lightly. None of what I say lightly. So you've got the internal contact. Then what about the external contact? Hearing things, seeing things, sounds, smells. And I think smells is an absolute great one. I think is a really, really, really powerful one, because I think it's really, really hard to imagine a smell, right? So sit here right now, see if you can imagine a smell. See if that's possible. I'm not so sure that it is, all right? So, you know, smells are really, really kind of powerful, and often they have a form of association with them, you know. So flowers, perfumes, aftershave, tobacco, you know, all hardwired into an association of a loved one in spirit. The other form of contact that I absolutely think is really profound, happened to me as well, is, say for instance, you go to bed, you walk out of your lounge, you go to bed, you're alone in the house, you wake up the next morning, you walk into the living room, and there is a picture frame of someone that has passed in spirit lying in the center of the room, okay, that has looked as if it has fallen off a shelf and has landed in the center of the room. Happened to me in a house that I lived in probably maybe 15 years ago, so a fair time, and there in the center of the room was the picture in the frame, upright, so it's facing up, fallen from a great height but hasn't broken, and it was lying in the center of the room. And I remember sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, hold on a minute, and then realizing it was their birthday approaching. It was their birthday approaching. You know, they are really profound experiences. You can put them down to a random event, you can put them down to a coincidence, but that frame should have broken. And here's the point, you can put it down to a random event, but in my experience, I'm not the only person that have had those experiences. You know, over the years, multiple amount of people, many clients, the wonderful, courageous, amazing people I get to sit with each and every day, over time have shared similar experiences with me. You know, and I love to hear from anybody that's had a profound physical direct contact experience. Okay, it'd be lovely. Maybe we could get you onto the podcast and have a conversation about it. Consider that. Write to me if that is something that interests you. Either leave a comment in the video or email me directly at info@shanegadd.com. I'd love to hear. Now, on this note, I'm going to now hand you over to the incredible Becky over in New Zealand, who runs a really beautiful project called the Death Dialogues Project. Her project is sharing stories around death, dying and beyond. And I'm going to hand you over now to Becky and her experience that me and her shared only a week or so ago. Enjoy, and I'll be seeing you all very soon. And you will find also a link to Becky's project, links to Becky, link to a podcast interview that she done with me as well about my work as a holistic medium, as well as you will find links to the podcast where we're exploring this in greater, deeper detail. Until next time, keep shining.
Hey there, it's Becky. It is February 10th in New Zealand, and I am just off a call with my holistic medium, Shane Gadd, who lives in England. And I talk to him on a regular basis, regular basis, and just a beautiful soul. I've interviewed him on the podcast if you ever want to listen. But just saying, this is a person that I really trust and gain a lot from. Actually, it's a huge part of my self-care. So today, we started off the conversation that he had been sitting for 10 minutes, and unusually was getting some outside stimuli. Like usually he can sense presences and who may be showing up for me, and moves from there just with intuition, messages he feels like he's getting, feelings, thoughts. And so he's really focusing on this external bit. Like there's a shift, Becky, today. I'm hearing a humming. It's not in here though. It's actually out here, and I'm seeing something out of the corner of my eye. I'm feeling like there's a shift. And I just rewatched, because he records everything and then sends, and lets you have the recording, which is great. So I've got a file of Shane that I can rewatch whenever I want. And then I'm like, wait, did you hear that? And there's like, it keeps sounding like either a door slamming, like, contact, or a hammer hitting. So I'm assuming like maybe his dad's in visiting him and doing some work in the other room. And I'm noticing he's not flinching at all. And I'm saying, do you hear that? And no, he never hears it. It goes on throughout our entire conversation. It's inconsistent. It's inconsistent in the volume, and it's inconsistent with when it happens. It's not like there's a rhythmic. It has zero feeling of being static or anything like that. It literally, like, I'm seeing him sitting, at twilight where he's at, early morning here. And, he's like, it is so calm and so still here. And it's almost like I can hear like what part of the room it's coming from deal, right? Like so very real. And so he's like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to look at the recording. So of course, when we got off, I couldn't resist jumping on and looking at the recording, and it's not there. It is not on the recording. I am so blown away. And it's crazy, at the end of our conversation, he's saying, just a lot of, it was a really, every time I get off with him, there's just insights, and I'm left with a sense of feeling lighter and just more connected with all things. And the big picture of, love never dies and energy doesn't die. And it is all a great mystery to me, but there's certainly some truths that come forward to each of us in our own ways, and if we're open to it, right? And so I'm always getting insights. And at the end, we're talking about that, and he's talking about the contact, and he's doing this. He's like, I feel like there's going to be a shift in the contact for you. And I'm like, yeah, he's like, and then I said something about that noise, and he's like, contact. It was like contact. And I said, exactly. It was contact with something, like boom, boom. But we both picked up on the word contact. So I just wanted to share with you. I mean, I know if you don't get into the stuff, it'll be like, woo, so what? But for those of you that kind of speak this language or pick up on these things, yeah, I hope you can feel my excitement, or my like, wow, this happened throughout the entire conversation. There were gaps in time, came back around at the end. Don't know what it means exactly, but it's something. It is something, and it's quite fascinating. So, how are you? Yeah, it's a wild time. I'm really in a space in my head more than I want to be, so that's why this was especially helpful for me now. With not one book, but 2 books coming out. It's one thing about writing, and Shane was picking up. He was like, it's almost like these books were channeled for you. And it was, I would go off in Tawanda and or be wherever I was. And really, a lot of it was in flow. And I did have to take off at times, and that makes a lot of sense too, because it wasn't that I had to turn my thinking brain on. It was that I needed to clear space so that the relevant, I could feel like I was giving the relevant information at the relevant time, and then the pace and all of that in these books, whether it's the memoir that comes out later in May, or this book that I think is just a gorgeous kind of, almost a handbook, guidebook for people surrounding death and dying and end of life. And it's like a springboard. It's not meant to be so comprehensive and detailed, and it's not about and here's your resource to do this or to do that. It's more the feeling behind it, opening the doors for people to think about different ways to look at death, different ways to perceive end of life and how you walk into it, but then also the common threads of those stories of end of life and dying, and then of course the grief and how differently people show up for us, how differently our grief and our loved ones show up for us, our deceased loved ones. So it's quite full spectrum. There's a lot and not so many pages, honestly. So yeah, so a lot of what he was saying so resonated, and I'm so looking forward to both of these books being born out into the world, so I can get out of that kind of, it's not business per se, because I'm a big believer in these books will find their way to whoever they need to find their way to. I'm not, I've not walked into this with any grandiose ideas about got to be on a bestseller list or win prizes. I mean, this is just mission work, right? This is just about, we need these books in the hands that need them. That's it. But man, I'm just looking forward to the exhale after, and reconnecting in that way that's a little bit more pure to just what I'm getting and what I'm hearing and the connections with you all and the stories, and letting go of that side of working on writing and books. And, I have a novel that I wrote years and years ago, and I actually stopped. I pitched it very briefly and I stopped because of that. Just like, to me, that ego involvement is so far away from the actual act, the artistic act of creating and writing and putting something out in the world. And yay to all the people that can do that and do that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the exhale afterwards, and I'm very excited about the possibility of these being of benefit, being of service to people. So that makes me happy. Our next podcast episode will be a bonus episode. It'll be just on the Thursday in the US, Friday in New Zealand, before the book comes out on Wednesday. And it's a great way to introduce you to my co-host, Kate Burns. She and I will be having a conversation about the whole process and whatever she wants to ask me. And we'll have that be the next podcast episode before we get back to the conversations with people. And I hope you find it interesting. I'm here. I'm loving the tiny stories. We need more. We're almost at 100. Like just a couple away from 100. It's unbelievable. And I'm hearing every day from people who have gotten so much out of writing them and so much out of reading them. So please keep those coming. Tiny stories, tinystory@gmail.com. 100 words, a photo that you'd like to go with it, how you'd like your name to appear. If you working in the field and want to have your website, that's fine. Want to put your Instagram handle, that's fine. We'll keep that train rolling as long as people are showing up with stories, as far as I'm concerned. So much love to you all. Why did I want to say this? I just want to tell you, in these times that we're in, these challenging times, keep your heart, keep your eyes, keep your ears wide open. Have conversations with your loved ones. Go for a walk and talk out loud to them, the people in the beyond. Assume that you have a team out there, like Shade and I talked about today, that has your back, and reach into those resources. Sending you so much love. Talk again soon. Bye.